Afghanistan is f***ed, okay? It was always going to be f***ed. 20 years ago, it was f***ed. 10 years ago, it was f***ed. Today, it was f***ed. It sucks. The Taliban are evil. Whoever's saying that, like, oh, it's good, the Taliban are better than the U.S., those people are morons, and they're probably very white. And, yeah, that's it. Everything's just super f***ed.
Okay. That's that. Okay. That is. Would you? Okay. In all honesty, would you qualify your take as far out or not?
No, it's factually what happened. Trump tried to put us on a timetable to leave by May 1st of this year. I think they've negotiated something with the Taliban saying that we'd leave by May 1st. When Biden came in, he said we're going to do like a protracted withdrawal, and then we were supposed to be out by September 1st. But I don't think anybody, the United States included, everybody knew that the Afghanistan National Army was garbage, but nobody thought they were this bad. It was like just unbelievable. Like people were thinking that like in probably 3 to 6 months, the Taliban would be rolling into like Kabul and would take over the rest of the major cities, but it happened in like weeks. And nobody was ready for them to literally just drop everything and run. But people saying shit like, oh, America gave them armor. Like we should have taken all the weapons back. What were we going to do? Steal everything back from the military and fly away? Like we couldn't do that. Like there was no good way to leave Afghanistan. It was just, it's always been there's just there was no good way out of that horrible situation that we've been in for like 20 years.
Okay. Okay, so I think maybe I didn't understand right. I think what Biden said, by the way, Biden, he did it. Listen, he was running out of steam. Listen, maybe they need to up the coffee in the morning or something like that. I'm not even kidding about this. Maybe a little juicer magooser. He did. Mm-hmm. It seemed like about 2 minutes in, he was already running out of steam. And he was slowing down. And he felt like he was just reading the teleprompter, which is no energy and no soul. It just felt like he would like he was talking, explaining something that he doesn't care about. It was kind of odd.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that like it looks really, really, really bad for NATO and for the United States because you've got to figure that we've spent 20 years supposedly like training and pumping money into these people to get them ready to kind of like stand on their own. And the second we leave, it just completely collapses. You've got like people just like throwing their weapons down and walking the fuck away. And like the Taliban are literally in the Capitol building, like in days, like after moving. It looks really bad. You have to understand there's like no good way that a U.S. president could spin it. There's nothing you can say. Like it's completely fucked. I think that like you could kind of tell. I think a few weeks ago Biden gave a speech and I think he was saying like we trust that the ANA will do their best, but like I think they knew it was fucked. Like there's just no way. They're so unbelievably incompetent. And then the Taliban is insanely competent. They're getting help from fucking like Pakistan and like other people. Supposedly Russia are like not confirmed, but like are helping to like train these people. Like they were just the Afghanistan army was never in a position to stand up against the Taliban. It was never going to happen.
But the one that they're doing that, what do they gain from doing that?
Who gain from doing what?
What do they gain from helping the Taliban?
Well, I mean, like Pakistan has always had like a good relationship with the Taliban, and the U.S. main interest is we don't like the idea of Afghanistan being kind of like a safe harbor for other terrorist groups, so like Al Qaeda or other people. And the idea is that if the Taliban is running Afghanistan, more terrorist groups can kind of like base out of there, get support from there, and have like a safe harbor from kind of like international eyes, basically.
Okay.
So that's kind of why we were trying to prop up the Afghan government, and we wanted them to be like a little bit more stable and friendly to the U.S. But with so much support in that region for the Taliban, and them being like, you can't like occupy a country forever and try to kill like insurgents there. It doesn't work that way. Like people try to compare it to like, oh, well, we did in Japan or Germany, but like that was different. You didn't have like a whole bunch of people in that country still fighting back against you and shit.
Okay.
It was more like Vietnam. Like the only way to really win is to like basically glass the whole fucking country. You'd have to like nuke everything. There's just no way. You can't do it.
Okay. So you think or you think that they think that it's like the root to some stuff, and then they're trying like to stop it or to like make it not as bad.
Yeah, the U.S. just doesn't. Yeah, the U.S. just doesn't want, or NATO forces, or Europe, whatever, just doesn't want Afghanistan to be like a breeding ground for terrorist groups. Basically, like we don't like the idea that they could, like fester in there. Basically, is the idea. I've heard mixed things though, and I haven't read it enough. But supposedly the Taliban don't want that either now because they don't want. Like technically, the Taliban wants the U.S. to leave and to fuck off and everything because they can run that shit and they can basically lock it down. So I don't know. Maybe they'll be a little bit more careful about that shit happening too.
But what is their ultimate goal then? What if it happens if everybody leaves and they do take over? Let's say, then what?
Yeah, they're just gonna run the country. It's just their country. The Taliban will run it. That's what they want.
Okay.
They just want to run the country. They'll just run the country. It's like the government, the de facto government, right?
Oh, okay. Jesus. Oh, like literally like occupy the big places and replace the offices and the people of power or whatever. And
Well, I mean, like it depends. Well, you have to be careful when you use the word occupy, because some people would argue that that Afghan National Army, the government that we were supporting, that was technically the occupying force, and that NATO and the United States, that we were the occupiers, and the Taliban might have more of a claim to like running the government there. So they don't see themselves as occupiers. They saw like the ANA and they saw the US and NATO as occupiers, and now they're like getting their country back. Kind of is how they see it.
oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I mean, okay. Yeah, so you were saying is that if things that come from not this place are too prominent and so much, now they're occupying it and now they have control or whatever. So now, okay, I understand it because there's too much. Right. Okay. Well, I have another question. You still with me?
Yeah.
I saw Azan tweet something about mineral. What's up with the mineral?
No, it's fucking stupid. It's dumb as fuck. People claim that like there's like this really naive thing on the left and the right where they're like, oh, the U.S. is just in places for oil and for mineral. Nobody's gonna send fucking machines over there in a place that is as unstable as that to try to do like rare earth mineral extraction or whatever. Like that. That's just bullshit.
Okay, that was one of my thought. It seemed how do you call this? Not logically, it's logistically kind of a crazy hassle. Now, elaborate more.
Yeah, yeah. Nobody is like sending like the main industry that took off there was was it opium? What are the plants?
Where?
Like we poured so much money, but there's like a drug that they manufacture there. I don't remember what it was. I think it has to do with opiates. I should remember the name. Poppy.
Oh, poppies.
Maybe?
Yeah, poppies. Yeah, baby.
Yeah. Like that's like the main fucking like blossoming industry. That's why they make like so much fucking money over there. But the idea that like the United States, the reason why we occupy places will vary from region to region, but what we were mainly interested here is like, I'm pretty sure we just want another friend in the Middle East, and we want a place that isn't like friendly towards our enemies or can harbor people that can turn into potential enemies. Like that's the main issue why we were so interested in Afghanistan.
Okay.
It wasn't because we were trying to like go and mine and drill for fucking rare earth minerals there. Like that's fucking delusional.
Well, is there any evidence to support that? Or shows that's what they want, or is that fabrication?
That shows that we want to get like
minerals, or they're getting minerals, or they have machinery getting minerals, or it's an ongoing process, or is there evidence and shows that that's what they're actually actively doing, or it's what they're actively trying to work towards?
I don't think so. Like if you look back in 2019, like we dropped more bombs on that country than we ever have, and the Taliban were still making progress everywhere. Like there's no way that the U.S. ever thought that they were going to be able to get like a stable like mineral extraction like bit. Like I've never seen anything. Maybe if there's evidence for it, maybe it exists, but I've never seen that before. But I just don't think that that's the reason why we cared about that country so much. It was geopolitical interest, not like resource extraction.
Geopolitical makes sense. Okay. Do you think the U.S. has done a decent job at achieving their goals with the resources that they're putting in, and doing a good job overall with the whole situation? Yes or no?
In Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. It's like been an international embarrassment probably for the past 2 decades. Like we've spent, dude, there are schools in Afghanistan that are getting more money than some U.S. schools. There was a really big leak, if you're ever interested, called the Afghanistan Papers. And it goes over a lot of the, like, we dumped so much money into that country. And just as like a quick thing, a lot of people think that money helps countries, or that billionaires help countries, or that whatever. Like the thing that helps a country is strong institutions.
Infrastructures.
So, yeah, infrastructure and institutions. And Afghanistan's institutions were incredibly corrupt. Like there are things called ghost soldiers. We've got like Afghan generals that are like, claiming money for themselves, pretending they're paying a bunch of soldiers, and they don't exist. A lot of the people that train there just like you can look at like YouTube videos of like them trying to learn how to do jumping jacks.
Yeah. Question about that. It's interesting that you brought that up. Would that be a data like anomaly or an outlying data in a big cloud of data, or is that such an issue that it's so prominent that it's one of the main problems that stuff like this happens?
In terms of like us occupying other countries, or what do you
No,
mean?
no, 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 no. That money being used like that, is that like a one isolated instance or whatever, or one or two or five that aren't a big deal compared to the bigger picture, or is it like actually a crazy big problem with how they're managing the funds?
Are you saying like just in Afghanistan or around the world?
Afghanistan.
My understanding is that there's a lot of corruption in the Afghanistan government. A lot of money is just wasted and squandered. That's like a pretty like
So the
that's
big
not very
chunk.
controversial. Yeah. Like for an example, it's been so long since I've read these, but like for example, I think in some of these papers you would have like, do you know what like a block is?
A block? No, what's a
Like
block?
like where like houses might be, like, oh, you live like 2 blocks, or there's
A
like a
block,
street
yeah.
full of like
A block,
yeah,
yeah.
there would be like a few blocks, and they would have like these like yearly allocations in like the millions of dollars for investment, and like we pumped an ungodly amount of money into that country, and I don't know where the fuck it went. Nobody knows where it went. Like some people say that a lot of it just flows through the Taliban, a lot of it flows through to the illegal drug trade, a lot of it is just squandered or stolen by people in the Afghan institutions. Like it's just like fuck. There's just like so much money that we poured into that country. Is it 2 trillion?
Wait.
I don't. It was yeah.
Trillion.
It was in the trillions. Yes, trillions. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, man, that's a lot of money. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then one more question. Okay, I'm getting carried away. There's too many. What do you think that the U.S. could do a better in terms of the conflicts that are happening, but also at helping and fostering a better growth for infrastructure and institution?
I think that the first thing, that's a really complicated question. The thing that I would dream of is the United States needs to be more honest about what our goals are. I think that, or at the very least, behind the scenes, know what our goals are, because I think that like a lot of the public gets really mind fucked. Like we're not in Afghanistan to give freedom to the Afghan people. We're not like going someplace to like we say that a lot. We sell that to the world. We're going for freedom. We don't give a fuck about freedom. We're looking to create like these stable islands that we have high geopolitical interest in, so that we can prevent like foreign people. Like potential terrorist groups or other countries from like staging attacks at allies out of these places. Like that's our main interest, right? That was our main interest in Iraq. That's why we kept Saddam. Like how can you say that we care about freedom and then you keep Saddam there after the first Gulf War, after he's using chemical weapons against Kurdish people or invading and like slaughtering, Kuwaiti people? Like you can't do that, right? So I think that if the US was honest about its objectives, number one, and then number two, I think that when you have like a military mission, I think that you have to have clear mission objectives. If your mission objective is to build a country, then you have to own it. Like we need to send like a surge of like 20 or 30,000 troops there. We need to go to fucking war with all the Taliban in the east, and we need to clear them the fuck out, and we need to bomb the fuck out of Pakistan if they try to do it. That's what you would have to do. But the problem is like we go half in. So we'll say like we're going there to give freedom to the Afghanistan people and we're going to build the nation, but we don't send enough troops to do it. And we're not really honest about we're there, and then like everything is just fucked. You can't go like half in like that, I think that's the big problem.
Okay.
If you want to go hard and do it, you got to go really fucking hard and do it. You can't go like half in and do whatever the fuck we've been doing for 20 years.
Okay. I thought that's what Joe Biden was saying when he said it. I think the plan was to like ramp up the juice for a little bit, be done with it, and then pull out. I think that we're gonna ramp up the juicer, like finish, and then get out. And he said that the next president wouldn't have to deal with any of these issues because they would be over with. Do you believe that?
I mean, like, I'm pretty sure when Trump pulled, the problem is that like, there's a lot of like shit that goes on with this. Another problem is that Western countries we're democracies. So a lot of our military action is going to tie into how popular it is with the public. When Trump pulled out, Trump had on the table negotiated an extraction deal with the Taliban, and he'd left the U.S. troops there at like their minimum numbers. Can you imagine if Joe Biden comes into office and does a troop surge in Afghanistan? He can't do it. It would be so unbelievably politically unpopular that he can't really do it. All he can do is say like, oh, well, this is the timetable that we're leaving, There was like we could send more troops there, but we're just unfortunately delaying the inevitable. I don't think, and to be clear, to like underscore all of this, like the Taliban like taking over Afghanistan is not a good thing. So for all like the dipshits online that are like, oh, like, oh, good, the Taliban get their country back. Like, these people are horrible fucking people. These people make Saudi Arabia look like a progressive country. Okay, it was upwards of like 60 to 80% of marriages were fucking forced. They will fucking like rape and marry 12-year-old girls. They weren't allowed to go to school. If you were injured as a woman and you wanted to go to the hospital, you had to have a man with you. Otherwise, another male doctor couldn't look at you. You weren't allowed to learn how to read. Like that, like the Taliban owning that country is super fucked up, to be clear. So I'm not like siding with the Taliban, but I can't really side with the U.S. either, because like we're trying to go in and like directly confront like another, you know, military, the Taliban, who are being supported by another nuclear power, Pakistan, right? So what the fuck is, yeah, it's fucked. There was no path forward for us in Afghanistan. We just can't do it. Yeah, it was just fucked from the beginning. Everything is like really sad and tragic with how everything is turning out now. Yeah.
Okay. Jesus. Yeah, that's pretty heavy. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you explained. I think I'm getting a lot of information. It's just sometimes it's kind of hard with politics because there's a lot of bias and a lot of people say things and it sounds like they're saying a fact or a truth, but in fact it's kind of like opinionated. So it's really hard for me to understand what's really happening when all I hear is the oil, the mineral.
Yeah,
and
because the main take you're going to see online, and unfortunately, because this is just where the conversation is everything that happens is bad because a billionaire said it, or it goes, oh, military contractors are making all the money. That's why the U.S. only goes to war because of military contractors. Fucking bullshit. That's not. We're in places because of like where like our population will support us being there. That's exactly as it goes. If we were there because we wanted to just like get a bunch of military contractors to make a whole bunch of fucking money, we would have stayed there for longer. We would still be in fucking Iraq. We would have never left. Like, our military allocation in the Middle East like definitely squares with where the public opinion is with like war funding and stuff. That was one of the things that Trump ran on, remember, was pulling us out of the Middle East, and Biden followed through on that timetable because even the Democrats know that like staying in the Middle East is just so unbelievably politically unpopular. Like, it's fucked. That's why we left it. Arguably, you can say that like us leaving Iraq was pretty similar. We left that country in a sad state. The military were woefully ill-equipped. And when ISIL in Syria got really fucking powerful, they just came into Iraq and they took all their shit too. And that's where a lot of like ISIS got their early equipment from when they started moving into Iraq and everything.
Okay, jeez. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. It's just that yeah, okay. Well, I think that was very usually what I try to say is that, oh, I'm gonna talk to this guy or that guy. I don't endorse what they say, and I don't take what they say as the truth. But I appreciate the input, and I can extract the core facts and keep them for myself so I can learn from it, right? And get multiple takes, whatever. So I appreciate your input. And that was good.
But this is just like my suggestion. Obviously, you can do things as you want. Usually, when people look at like why we're involved in a conflict, they're very national focused. So if you ask somebody like, why is the U.S. over in Iraq, or why is the U.S. in Afghanistan, usually people will give you answers about the United States. Like, oh, it's because of our military contractors, or because they want to lie to the public, or blah 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 blah. It makes way more sense when you look at these areas. Like, just kind of look at like, who are the armies in a certain area, or like, what do these armies do? How do they interact with other countries? And when you start looking at things through that lens, you'll start to get so much more information about like, oh, like, so for instance, like, oh, like, why does the United States have a huge interest in Iraq? Well, we're friends with Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia is very much not friends with places like Iran. And the idea of like Iran and Iraq and Syria, like all three coming together and being friends, is like really bad for the United States allies. And when you look at things through that lens, I think that things start to make way more sense on like a bigger geopolitical landscape, rather than just looking at things like, oh, it's because America wanted to make money and steal all their fucking minerals. Like, the U.S. has a huge economy. Like, we don't even fucking get that much oil from fucking not OPEC. From all the big oil fucking countries anymore. Like, we fucking refine and do all that shit from fucking Canada. We get a lot of this shit on ourselves. Like, we don't need to go to war with countries to do like rare earth mineral extractions and shit. Like, even China doesn't do that shit anymore, like on a hard military level. Like, it's so stupid to think that we would invest so much money into doing this shit when we have so many other like economically viable ways to accomplish like these kind of economic ends. Like, all of it is geopolitical. It's not just like a few companies want to get rich, so somehow they've hijacked our whole fucking military complex.
Okay. Can these things be debunked over times in a healthy way or not?
There's no way to debunk them. It's kind of like it's trying to debunk like the Jewish question, right? Like how do I prove to you that like Jewish people don't control the whole world? Like there's no way to do it because the people aren't usually presenting evidence. They'll just show you something like, oh, like this guy is friends with this guy and he's like in a big military, contracting position. Here's the thing. You know how people always say like, oh, it's so fucked up that like lobbyists come from companies and blah blah blah. That's because everybody works in those industries. It's kind of like how in esports, like how a lot of players become like coaches and then team owners and a lot of it's because everybody's in the industry. Like no fucking shit. Like do you think a fucking librarian is gonna go and work as like a fucking military lobby? Like of course not. Everybody's gonna be in industry, right? Like a lot of these things have really simple explanations, but people like to go right to the conspiracy because it's more entertaining and then they don't have to do any reading or research. Anytime something bad happens, they can just blame evil billionaires or evil military contractors, and then they can save their own mind from having to engage with the actual reasons of like why these countries get fucked up or the histories of these countries or whatever. And everything is so much simpler and easier to like hate.
Okay, I mean, some of these things at face value, I agree with outright. I think some of these content we presented were pretty good. That wasn't a bad take. Okay. All right.
Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.